only fantasy. His number too high, then I'm probably fading him. He been on the road, he gon' eat up my salary. I hit a buy, he go live before lock. Play back to back, then I probably won't pick on the DFS bachelor. Good as it gets. Bit a few liners, then hit me a leg. He had a good game, but that might be a trick. Logged in the Slack, so I know who to pick. Sharing our liners, we all gon' get rich. New to this game, you should come to the pad. You might want some cash and get a good laugh. DFS Sports, we gon' run up a bag. He heard every game, and it's making me mad. You buying your lineups, I think you a cheater. DFS bachelor, he the new leader. Yeah.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Bachelor Pad. We've had a nice little break, hiatus, 17 days. I, of course, am your host of DFS Bachelor, and of course, when we're talking League of Legends, it's in our best interest to always have Mike at League of Items here. So we have 3 separate 2-game slates that start at midnight Pacific time tonight. It's the LPL LCK Mid-Season Classic, basically an exhibition. There's no high stakes on the line. It's just for pride, and I think it should be a lot of fun. For my money, these are the 2 best leagues out there. So I'm excited for it. We're going to cover all 3 2-game slates as thoroughly and briefly as possible. How you doing this morning, Mike? Also, before we get to that, we will be 4 days in a row here. Wednesday through Saturday, we'll be live at Sportsbook Review. Be sure to check that out. Mike and I will be breaking down the betting odds for each contest each day of this tournament as well. And some big news, I will be joining them for NFL season this year, doing a bunch of stuff with Donnie Rightside, have special guests on ESPN. There's going to be a ton of stuff there, so be sure to check us out all year breaking down NFL betting this year, so that's pretty exciting as well. My brother, how you doing? Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I'm very excited for it.
Cool.
So how's everything going with you these last 2.5 weeks?
So normal people have not been paying attention to League of Legends, but some of us only live when League of Legends is around. So I mean, I've still been playing League of Legends, staying up on the patches. I'm doing a little bit of coaching and stuff like that. So it's always League of Legends time in my world.
Nice.
And I made a few videos right when the lines came out for this mid-season cup. Like I tried to predict what the lines were going to be, and then they came out, and I was really close on like almost all the lines.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're starting to see some line movement, and that'll be something that's good to take a look at for Draftkings, like knowing what side is going to be the more popular side.
Sure, absolutely. And again, these are 2-game slates. They're 3 separate 2-game slates, so we all know the deal. You're most likely going to chop. You're going to want to hedge yourself. I think, like this first match, I think you can lay off Damwon Gaming pretty strongly, but we'll get to all of that. But you're just going to want to hedge yourself and hope you're one of those chops at the top and hope it's the lower owned side. I mean, I don't know what else to say in the 2-game slate. It's 4-3, 3-4 combos once in a while. These are best of ones. So once in a while you can get a game stack. Like FPX and Top Esports played a game earlier this year and one of their best of 3s. In game 1, they had 45 kills total. So if you have a game like that, then game stacking will be the way to go. You won't win anything without game stacking.
Yeah.
It was 22 to 23 in kills or some shit like that. It was absolutely insane. Mm-hmm. And that won't be very highly owned. That won't be super popular, so you'll win a little bit more money that way. So there is a little bit different strategy in these best of ones as we start the tournament. Also, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you unsubscribed during the last 2 weeks, as some of you did while we had nothing going on, maybe resubscribe back. We appreciate that. Of course, we're going to be covering all the DFS stuff. And just because I'm going to be over at Sportsbook Review does not mean the DFS content will stop. We'll still have NFL, NBA, DFS content all throughout the year. Everything that we get, the gods willing that we get sports, which it's looking positive for some sports. I think the NFL looks pretty positive. MLB pretty shaky. NBA looks good. And the NHL looks like it's going to rock and roll too. So really MLB and college football feel the murkiest to me right now. And of course, if all else fails, we still have League of Legends. So there we go. They're not going to stop. So our first slate starts at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern tonight. Our first game is T1 and FPX. Now, T1 is the LCK spring season champion, right? They're on the blue side. T1's also the favorite I actually think FPX, I think last I looked, was a plus 110 underdog, which is kind of a little bit juicy for me. Obviously, these teams didn't play in the spring session. Apparently, they've had some scrimmages, which they will not divulge the results of those scrimmages for obvious reasons. Who do you like right here in this T1 on the blue side? Are you liking T1? Or I'm thinking FPX has a lot to prove. I think FPX has the higher upside in terms of kills. They do average more kills per game for what that's worth. Most Chinese leagues teams do. They average about 15 kills a game. T1 averages about 12 for whatever that's worth. The pricing's pretty even. You can basically play who you want on this slate. So it's really about just picking the winners. What do you like in this first game?
So personally, I'm always looking for the winners. That's really like the only way that that's the first place that I look for building lineups. I'm pretty skeptical of a lot of the statistics that are out there for like which teams get more kills and stuff like that.
Sure.
Just because everything is so draft reliant,
right?
Like depending on what champions are picked. And I think a way to look at it is like if I told you that the NBA was redrafting all their rosters, and they said like James Harden is going to be on like the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz instantly become a team where you expect them to score more points.
Sure.
And there are champions in League of Legends that are the equivalent of somebody like James Harden. So just him being in the game is going to change everything.
Right.
And I think that's going to be a benefit for Korea. And I think that the initial perception of everything, like what you're speaking to, is that the Chinese teams are going to have an advantage from a Draftkings perspective. But whenever we look to like the World Championships and stuff like that, these tournaments where the different regions compete with one another, there's really no regional advantage. I mean, if somebody has some like data compiled from all of the World Championships and like can prove that China scores more, like I'd be pretty surprised, because the only reason that would be the case is because the last couple of years China's been winning.
Right. Right. And it's so winning dependent. Like if you're a team that's going to lose, you're not going to hit your average kills most likely. On occasion it happens where you have one of those bloodbath games.
Yeah.
So it's really about how many kills, points they score when they win versus when they lose, etc. So that can kind of throw some of those numbers off.
Yeah,
so
like when you win a game, the least number of kills you should really get is 12.
Right.
And that'll beat all of the losers.
Right.
Or that'll beat the worst loser. That's what I meant to say.
Right.
Because like losers, a lot of the times you're in like the single digits and stuff like that.
Right.
So T1 FPX specifically, I think that from a matchup perspective, it's going to be very interesting for people who like enjoy the Korean style of League of Legends, because I think that T1 is really going to be the team that dictates how the game plays out since they're on the blue side. And then one other thing about T1 is they play a lot of the champions that would allow for a higher kill score game.
Right.
So they play things like Sylas and Jace, and some of these carry top laners. Sylas can be flexed between top and mid. The problem is that T1 is so flexible and meta resilient that they can kind of just choose the game style that they want to play. Whereas I think FPX is definitely stronger when they're more macro oriented and put Do and Be on something like Rise or Twisted Fate, which I think will potentially happen in this game. And basically, that when we talked about on 10.6 and 10.7 how it was shifting towards like a jungle carry meta, and the mid laner would be more of a supportive role for their jungler, we're still seeing that in 10.10. It doesn't mean that it's definitely going to happen in every single game, but Graves is still out of control. Nidalee has been popular for a few patches now as like a counter to Graves. So if Graves isn't banned out, I would expect Nidalee, Kindred, Karthus, a lot of these farming champions, I think are all on the table. So this game, I prefer T1 because I think they have more avenues to win the game, and I think the money's actually going in on T1.
Yeah, FPX is the underdog. Last I looked, and it was late last night, so I haven't looked today, but I believe it was plus 110 on Pinnacle, plus 116 on Bovada last I looked.
Yeah, so when I initially projected these lines before everything started, I had T1 at minus 120 and FPX at plus 120. I just figured that was where it would end up.
Pretty close.
And right now, when it was posted, it was like 115, like 115 or 125 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then now on Pinnacle, it's T1 minus 160 and FPX plus 130.
Oh wow.
So I think I always, whenever we talk about these kinds of line movements and stuff, I always make sure to say that we're not in a sophisticated betting market like we are in the NFL. Sure. Because there's a lot less money coming in on these games. So one or two opinionated people can really start to shove these lines.
Yeah.
Whereas like other sports, they don't have as much power.
Right.
But since esports, you get less money overall, it does have a larger impact. So I think that I do agree with the people betting on T1 because I think that they do have the blue side advantage, which is worth a couple percentage points. And then they also have the flexibility of their drafts.
Right.
So I think that one thing people need to remember is that FPX is not the typical Chinese team, even though they are the best Chinese team from last year.
Right.
Part of the reason why they were so successful last year is because they play that other kind of style. Like if you compare FPX to JDG or IG or even Top Esports, you see that FPX is a little bit more macro focused than everyone else.
Right.
So I think that this game has the potential to be a very high kill score game just because they can both opt into that play style. Mm-hmm. But I think that I prefer the second game in terms of DraftKings scoring.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at DraftKings scoring, if this is going to be my secondary team, I would want obviously the winning team, and then probably the winning support.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to have both. The one thing to really keep an eye on, I guess, will be the jungler. Luckily, this is the first game. We'll probably have the starting lineups for both matches before lock. I think just because the Chinese teams are involved.
Yeah, so I hope so. But they don't have to announce both at the same time. Because the Chinese team could just say like, "This is our lineup," and then the Korean team might not say anything.
Right. I would expect Cuz to start at the jungler, right?
I would expect that.
For T1. Again, we should have this one because it's the first game.
I hope so.
So we should have this one. It's not guaranteed. You can follow us on Twitter at DFS Bachelor, at League of Items. If it's up there, we'll have it. I'm gonna do my best to keep my old ass up that late tonight to watch. And you kind of talked about that. So it's a new meta, 10.10, like you talked about, and we kind of discussed this off the air. Does that change a whole lot about what's going on in these matchups in terms of being jungler heavy, etc.?
So, there's one distinction that I have to make before this all that like I get into this is that what eventually happens is not always indicative of what could happen. So, in my opinion, there has not been enough changes between patch 10.7 and patch 10.10 to move away from a jungle meta, but teams may opt to change it regardless.
Right. Okay.
So we might see a separate meta develop where like one or two champions becomes really popular in the mid lane because of recent buffs, but none of the recent buffs were big enough to justify that change. Right. So maybe one of the players on that team enjoys playing that champion a lot and has kind of pushed their coaches to let them play it. And maybe they win a couple of games and force everyone else to adapt. But that's the only situation where we're going to move away from a jungle meta because Graves is still ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
That puts a huge change on the entire meta.
Right.
So before we move to the next game, I wanted to remind everybody that when we're in best of ones, it makes top captains viable, jungle captains viable. The stacks are going to be there's going to be potential game stacks that win tournaments. And again, it's really just about picking the teams that you think will win and then rotating the combinations.
That's right.
If you're going to run out one bullet, then obviously just build whatever you think is going to give you a chance to win. Like if you want to go different, try a top captain or a jungle captain. If you're going to put out a lot of lineups, you're going to want to get exposure to almost all the combinations.
Yeah. Like if you're running FPX, I'm going to have exposure to both sides. But like a guy like Tion, their jungler, he's a high scoring jungler. So and it'll be something different. Because of the way the salaries are, you don't really have to do that, and you're going to have a bunch of salary left on the table. But Tion can be a high-scoring jungler. We talked about the meta being jungler heavy. FPX was embarrassed too in the playoffs. Let's not forget they might have a little bit something to prove, and then you have T1 who won the spring set, so they might be a little bit more relaxed.
That is not T1.
But
That
but
is not
again,
T1 at all.
but if I'm
T1,
building an FPX team, I want LWX, I want Do and B, and I want Tion. And if I'm building a T1 lineup, I want Faker, I want Teddy, and I do
yeah,
think I want Cuz. And I don't mind Canna either. He can at times go off from the top position. So
yeah.
those are the kind of players you want to build around. But I think I'm with you. I'm looking at the top esports side of the second game. I guess we could move over to that if we're ready.
Yeah, so the last thing I want to say about the first game is T1 is not like a team that will take their foot off the gas just because they won a championship. They are the New England Patriots, and they might even be not better because
Well, this year.
they're basically the Patriots.
Well, maybe this year. This coming
Basically
up here with Jarrett Stidham, they'll be better. But
yeah.
second game, and I do think there is an advantage being the blue side in the best of ones, like you said. It just gives you a little bit more power over what happens, right?
Yeah.
So advantage T1 there. Second game, Damwon Gaming on the blue side against Top Esports. Top Esports is a heavy favorite last I looked, like minus 230, I think last I looked.
Right now it's at minus 205.
Minus 205, so it's moved a little bit towards Damwon Gaming. Damwon Gaming is the blue side. I still like Top Esports in this matchup. It's where I'm going to have I think that's what a lot of people are going to be doing, is having Top Esports as their primary stack.
Yeah.
Top Esports, just to give you an example of what they can do on the red side. In game one, again, in that FPX game that they played on April 20th, and they played FPX. In game one, from the red side, FPX was the blue side, there were 45 total kills in that game, which is fucking insane. In fact, FPX had more kills. Top Esports still won the game. In game two, Top Esports went to the blue side. There were only 14 kills in that game. It was 12-2. So it's like, so Top Esports can get it done from both sides. I think Damwon Gaming is the weakest team in this group. If I had to pick the weakest team of the group, I would say it's Damwon Gaming. Damwon Gaming, though, tends to not be the most exciting in terms of fantasy. They average the fewest kills per game. Even when they win, I think they beat T1 in a game this year. It was 10-6. That type of shit. And the other game they won was 17-7, which is kind of a high kill total for Damwon Gaming. So they do, like, Damwon Gaming is the team I'll have the least amount of exposure to, just because I don't see the huge fantasy upside there. I like Top Esports a lot, but I think a lot of people will. So if you're trying to be contrarian, Damwon Gaming is the way to go. And of course, if you do, you're going to want guys like Nuclear and Showmaker, Ghost, Showmaker. It depends who they start. I think they'll probably start Ghost in the bot lane, but
yeah, probably.
I think that's who's been starting for them. And then of course for Top Esports, you want Jackie Love, you want Knight. We'll have to wait to see who their support's going to be, because they will mix it up between QQ and Yunyaya. So that is something to also keep an eye on.
Yeah, so I love the spot for Damwon Gaming. I think that Top Esports is the favorite, and they should definitely be the favorite. When I projected the line, I had Top Esports minus 200, Damwon Gaming plus 200. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's set up the way that it is, because, like, I guess they're saying in reality it's minus 160 plus 160, because that's where the line would have to be, right, for it to even for it to even out to a little bit over 100.
Right.
So maybe my math is just wrong. I don't know, but
I think that's right.
I think that Damwon Gaming on the betting line, like the actual betting line, isn't a large enough underdog for me to want to bet it, but it is definitely a spot where I'd want to make Draftkings lineups for it, because, like you said, everyone is just going to underestimate Damwon Gaming, which isn't saying like, oh, Damwon Gaming is going to win the game, but everyone thinks it's like a 10% chance that Damwon Gaming wins, when in reality it's like a 30%. So I have 3 times the leverage on the field. So I'm definitely going to want Damwon Gaming teams. So when I first approach my lineups tonight, I'm probably going to look for game stacks with Damwon as well, because I could see Top Esports continuously fighting these objectives because they let the game get out of control. keep fighting.
Right. You froze just for a second there. There you go. You're back. You're back.
Okay. So what was the last thing you heard?
They let the game get out of
Yeah.
control.
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So if Top
We saw
Esports
your
let-
vinegar strokes, is what we saw.
Oh, I hope not. Oh my god, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
If Top Esports lets the game get out of control early, I would see them continuously fighting for objectives anyways, because and I think Damn One Gaming would kind of want to do the same thing too. They're basically coming into this with no one giving them a shot at winning.
Right.
Like, why not fight? Like you have nothing to
Sure.
lose. So I think Damn One Gaming, especially in these best of ones, is going to be hyper aggressive. If you look at their different matchups, Knight is certainly a better mid laner, but Showmaker has been doing this challenge. Like, he kind of challenged himself to try to like go as far as he can on the solo queue ladder, playing every single champion one time. I think that's a very cool concept, and I haven't really kept up to date on how successful he was with it, but it just shows that he understands a lot of champions really well, which is a good sign for a mid laner regardless. I do think Knight is better. I do think Jackie Love is better. Karsa and Canyon. Karsa is the better player, but I think in the top lane, Noguri in a lot of matchups could have an advantage. So 369 in the finals, he pulled out a couple of Aatrox games against Zoom, and if everybody loves Zoom so much and 369 can go toe to toe with him, then they have to respect 369 as well. So I think that Damn One Gaming going into these games is going to try to get Noguri in a beneficial matchup. Okay. So I would expect an Aatrox ban 100% in this game, especially because that's one of the advantages of being blue side is that they don't have to ban a lot of the overpowered champions. They can kind of target ban the other team, so they can leave open graves and force Top Esports to ban it instead.
Right.
So I do think that there are a lot of ways that Damn One Gaming can kind of carve out an advantage for themselves. And at the end of the day, it's the same game. They've competed against very good teams in Korea.
Right.
They've beaten T1. So if they can beat T1, they can definitely beat Top Esports.
Sure, exactly. And like you said, they're going to be the lower owned. So if you're making multiple lineups, don't be an idiot and have some Damn One Gaming. And especially doing a double Korea stack, DFS players love the China League teams. There's just no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So you stack those two Korean League teams, you're still going to have ties because there's only so many combinations you can make. But you're going to have a lot less people tying with you if that ends up being the optimal lineup. So I like that idea a lot. I still think Top Esports would be my favorite. Like, if I had to put my life on the line, I'd bet on Top Esports. But I'm certainly going to have exposure to Damn One Gaming.
Yeah, I have been looking at some other people's content, and it's exactly what I want to see, because it's all like this. It's a lot of the basic storyline kind of things where it's like, oh, China's the better team. China has more kill score. Damn One Gaming sucks. Like all these things that you would expect to come out of the mouth of like someone who isn't like paying extremely close attention.
Yep.
And these are people who are kind of like putting out little graphs and stuff that were just mind blowing to me. Like they had a bunch of percentages on things, on like what they thought was likely to happen, and they were just so far off base of like what the actual sports books are telling us. Right. So you got to be people with Photoshop and graphs and pictures and stuff like that without a ton of actual knowledge. Dangerous people.
Dangerous, but it's good for us. That's where we get our leverage. All right, let's go to the second 2-game set, which starts right after the first 2-game set. One thing that's interesting, of all these 3 sets, the only team that doesn't have to play back-to-back from round to round is Top Esports. They play on the second end of each set. So Damn One Gaming, they play Top Esports, and they turn around, and boom, they're playing T1 in the very next matchup. T1 is the blue side for this. Now, these teams played twice during the spring session. One of the games was way back in February. They beat... They actually lost 1-2 in that game. No, they won. And then on April 5th, they played, and Damn One Gaming beat T1 2-0 We talked about those two kill score games, 10-6 in game 1, 17-7 in game 2. So Damwon Gaming, like, they're going to be, I don't know what the number is right now on this game. I haven't looked.
I can get that one sec.
What was interesting about Damwon Gaming was the blue side in that April 5th matchup. They seemed to play better on the blue side, but even in game 2 when T1 was the blue side, they still won 17-7. So I think Damwon Gaming, playing against a team in their own league who just won the championship, something to prove. This might be a spot where I hop on some Damwon Gaming as well.
Yeah, so I like T1 here because the line, when I projected the line, it was minus 250 T1 plus 250 Damwon Gaming. Right now it's minus 280 for T1 and plus 225 for Damwon Gaming. So like because I was getting very close with all of these initial lines, I just didn't want to touch any of them. Like there's no edge there. But the overwhelmingly negative sentiment about Damwon Gaming makes me a little bit more interested like as time goes on in their favor.
Sure.
The thing that the way that I'm reading stuff right now, I wish that this all locked at the same time, because then you'd be a little bit more justified in picking Damwon Gaming for your teams. But the way that this is staggered, the way that I hope it goes is T1 wins the first game, Damwon Gaming wins the second game, and then going into that third match, everybody's going to be saying to themselves, oh my God, Damwon Gaming just beat Top Esports. Like, this is a Damwon Gaming we haven't seen in months or years or something.
Sure.
Like just overreactive like that.
Sure.
And then T1 just comes in and lays the hammer on them.
Sure.
Like that would be the perfect spot.
Sure.
So I don't know if I'm going to stay awake for these games or not.
There is an advantage, I think, to watching them, because you kind of see what's going on. Sometimes you're like, oh, shit, I thought this team, they look like shit,
Yeah. Well, but honestly, in something like Best of One League of Legends, it's better to go against the momentum of stuff like that, because everyone else is going to be
exactly
following the momentum. So,
yeah.
Yep.
I just used that. It was it LDLC or who the hell was it that just played? Schalke. It was Schalke in the EU Masters.
Yeah.
They got smoked by Kick, I want to say, in the first round, and they looked terrible. And we knew Schalke was a good team, but everyone was off them for that second game, and they came out and put up huge numbers. I mean, it was one of their better performance. So, I completely agree there. Like we said, Damwon Gaming had the 2-0 advantage. They beat them twice this year. They were 2-1. They actually played 3 times, but again, those first games were way back in February, but the most recent on April 5th. And again, try to keep an eye out for the lineups. Again, these are Korean teams. They do not like gambling, so there is a little bit of, with the jungler for T1, with the support on occasion for Damwon Gaming, although I would imagine it's Barrel every time. I think that's the only real question. Maybe Ghost and Nuclear. When's the last time Nuclear played? Let's see.
A while ago. Damwon Gaming at the end of the season played a lot better, and that's when they had
Ghost
in the lineup.
Yep.
So the one thing I'd say about Damwon Gaming is Kana versus Naguri. I think that Kana is just as good as Naguri. Naguri is like a little bit more hyped up, and people think of him as a carry top laner more. But it's because I think Kana is more versatile.
Sure. And
Naguri is more like, I want to play this one style for the most part. And that just makes it a little bit more volatile in the top lane. So I would expect a lot of people that get exposure to Damwon Gaming to include Naguri, and that might actually be a good place to pivot off of and like have a couple of stacks where Damwon Gaming doesn't include Naguri in the stack.
Gotcha.
Because if he plays something like, if he plays a carry top laner and gets blown out of the water in lane, then even in the team fights, he's going to be less impactful.
Right.
And then, so that's one kind of lineup that I would look into when I'm building lineups tonight.
Gotcha. Perfect. And our second game is, of course, the all Chinese League matchup, FPX on the blue side and Top Esports. We just talked about it. They played on April 20th. Game 1, FPX, blue side, 45 kills. It's 40, maybe it was 40. It's 22 to 21 or 23 to 22 in terms of kills. So there is some potential game stacking here that you could do. They've shown that ability with this exact setup. And then, of course, game 2. I mean, Top Esports won the match 2-0. It was the only time they played in the spring. In game 2, there was only 14 kills. So they went from 45 kills to 14 kills. The only difference was Top Esports was blue side game 2. So, and I know you don't necessarily want to take everything that happens in previous games because it just really depends on the draft and everything like that. But there is some potential there. So I think if I'm playing this, these second sets of 2, I'll probably have 1 or 2 game stacks of this game in there just for shits and giggles, just in case.
Yeah.
T1 Damn 1 Gaming, I'm not game stacking. That's just not how those games tend to play out. But this game has shown the potential, so I will take a shot there. And I think FPX has something to prove. This might be my favorite spot to bet FPX. I think they're a fairly sizable underdog in this match. Am I right?
I think they're favored.
What? Against Top Esports?
No. Okay, I thought that I thought this was going to be like a reversed line because basically when FPX played Top Esports, the public sentiment was that FPX was the better team and should beat Top Esports, right?
Right.
So now we're going into a game. The book is setting a line based off of the most previous result, but I still think the public prefers Fun Plus Phoenix. So Fun Plus Phoenix will be very popular in this spot, and I bet on the sports books that they're also very popular. So yeah, so
Interesting.
On the books, it's plus 105 to minus 125. Top
yeah.
Esports is minus 125. So it is very close.
Yeah, it's close.
It's like a 45-55. I just thought it would be 45-55 in the opposite direction.
Sure.
So because think about it. If you saw a line like this posted for a different sport, you would probably end up coming to the conclusion that the sportsbook is trying to get you to bet on FPX. Yeah. So I'm feeling that plus sign in front of you saying, oh, look, you're getting better money than the Top Esports side. But I think that the book probably feels like Top Esports is the better team.
Yeah. Usually when it's that close for me, it's parlay or pass, honestly.
I mean, I'm not betting on this game.
Yeah, it would be parlay or pass. But in terms of Draftkings, like I said, I don't mind the game stack option of it.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to have exposure to both sides.
So
Always.
the two things that I would say about this is that when you're looking at a DraftKings slate, like you have to remember that whenever it's a 2-game slate, a game stack is a viable option, regardless of the teams. So I would say on every single one of these 2-game slates, game stacking both games just to have them as a part of your portfolio makes a ton of sense. Like it's a minor hedge, and it opens up a huge potential upside in being completely unique.
Sure, if it ends up being the optimal lineup, it's going to be lower owned than your 4-3, 3-4 stacks from the 2 games. It's just that's just how it's going to be. It's going to be much lower owned.
Yeah.
There's real opportunity, especially for this game. I think this game more so than the T1 Damn 1 Gaming game, where there's real potential for one of these bloodbath type 30, 40 kill type games. So
I do think that top I do think that it's also possible in T1 Damn 1 Gaming. And that's kind of what I'm drawn to right now is the potential for that game to be the higher scoring kill game.
That would be interesting.
So right now it's over under 14.5. It's over under 14.5 in the T1 match.
For kills? Ooh, that's low.
Yeah.
But again, you look at their games, in their most recent game on the 5th, there was 16 kills in game 1 and 24 kills in game 2. And then, of course, we talked about the FPX. That 45 kills, if people look at that, which I can't help but look at that, with FPX on the blue side, I'm like, whew, it seems like we could have ourselves a nice little bloodbath here. That's what I'm hoping.
So the team total in the second one. Oh, okay, wait a second. So the team totals, it's FPX is over under 10.5. Top Esports is over under 12.5. So the book is saying that they expect the first game to be a higher kill score game.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Which is interesting. I wouldn't expect that
yeah.
to be what they're like offering to the
No.
public, because that seems to be like the way the public would see it.
And again, we're going to be breaking down all these book odds if you want to bet these straight up. 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, live on Sportsbook Review.
So basically, I think that the way that they do it is they have the winning team. So T1's 14.5, Damwon Gaming is 8.5. So I think over 8.5 for Damwon Gaming is a pretty good bet, because then you're getting exposure to them winning the game and winning the game or losing the game with over 8.5 kills.
Yeah.
So I mean, interesting. I'll have to look at that closer for SBR.
Yeah.
But yeah, both of those are at 22.5. So I guess the normal line is 22 to 23 kills per match.
Right.
That's what the sportsbook bases it off of, and then they adjust it based on the winning odds or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Very interesting. Again, having exposure to all sides, and we talked about the game stacking there. Let's go to the third set of matches. So if you look, FPX gets done playing Top Esports, then boom, they're blue side again against Damwon Gaming in the third set. FPX is going to be the favorite here, I would imagine, especially being the blue side. I do like FPX in this matchup. I think most people will. So there is some contrarian advantage again to going Damwon Gaming. We're going to say that because Damwon Gaming is going to be the lowest owned team probably all 3 rounds. Let's just call it like it is.
And most people are going to make their lineups before they go to sleep and then just wake up and see what happened.
That's right. And we never know. They could do, these Korean teams could do some subbing. You know, maybe they're just having, you just never know when it's sort of this kind of exhibition thing. Maybe they're trying to try something new and see different combinations before the actual summer split starts here in a few weeks.
Yeah, I think FPX could also look for some swaps between Gimgoon and Khan.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I'd say about the Korean teams is they're probably looking at this tournament as something completely separate from, well, I mean, obviously, than the regular season. But I think part of the reason why we see lower kill scores in Korea in general is because there's so much pressure on these teams to be successful in their regular season and against the domestic competition.
Right.
So when you're in an international competition, I feel like it kind of loosens the reins a little bit, and they can kind of just go after it.
Interesting.
So I do like the Korean teams in this tournament. Like, if I wish there was a prop out there for Korean team wins or a Chinese team wins.
Yeah, that would be nice. I like that too. But me personally, with FPX on the blue side in this, I'm going to have more FPX than Damwon Gaming. But let me reiterate, I will have exposure to Damwon Gaming in all 3 sets. And I'll hope maybe the 1 or 2 games that they win, if they do, that I'm going to have that lower end chop and, you know, maybe get into the 4 digits. So, I mean, you see a lot of these huge prize pools and then everyone chops like $500, you know, which is still, you'll take it.
Yeah.
But it's not the big payout you're looking for. But if it ends up being a Damwon Gaming, I do think that you have a chance of having a lot more and those game stacks as well. Anything else on this FPX Damwon Gaming first game? We're getting into the wee hours of the morning, and again, there's going to be some risk here, especially if you set your lineup and go to bed and don't wake up and see any lineups if they don't post them. There's some risk here getting into these third games. Maybe FPX has lost their first 2 games and, like you said, switches to Gimgoon, or maybe they had played Gimgoon and they switched to Khan. So there are some of these things that happen because, you know, they want to stay in this round robin and advance to the next round. So by the time we get here, things are going to look a lot different. Maybe Top Esports has lost 2 games and they're like, holy shit, you know, we need to swap such and such, you know, maybe we need to play Photic for a game, or which I can't imagine happening.
No, yeah, he left. I think he's gone.
Oh, is he gone? Good.
Or he's on their academy team now, I think.
Fuck Photic. That's all I got to say. Yeah, he's gone. But you know, the support. Maybe they play Yoon Yai or QQ. So there is some stuff to keep an eye on these third games. Give yourself plenty of exposure and hope, not title of your sex tape, and make sure you know that you're kind of paying attention if you're going to risk your money on it.
Yeah, exactly.
And the final game, this is probably the game I'm looking forward to the most of all of them. T1, Top Esports. We've got T1 on the blue side. This one's going to be interesting, and this has another, for me, game stack potential. Like we talked about, I think there's some real game stack potential here. I think this is going to be a hard-fought game, and I think this could be for first place in the group at the end of the night. I do think this will be the matchup that determines it. So it could very well be a bloodbath. I would imagine
Yeah.
T1's probably a small favorite right now.
Yeah, I think that I thought that it was going to be minus 150 for T1, and then the line is T1 minus 130.
So yeah,
Top Esports plus 105. So I think the thing is they're really not giving you much to bet on.
no, that's
Like,
why it's
at
all
all.
parlay type shit. You got to parlay or pass, parlay or pass. Just betting these straight up is the money's
Yeah.
just not there.
Yeah, unless you take a shot on something like Damwon Gaming
Right.
in their second game or third game or something like that.
Right. Right. And look at the pricing for these two teams and the top T1 top esports. The most expensive player in the captain spot is Teddy at 10,800. You're getting Jackie Love for 10.5 in the captain spot. So in terms
Yeah.
of DraftKings, it's like you're going to have salary on the table. Don't be afraid in these 2-game slates to leave thousands on the table. It's probably, of all the sports, I guess maybe some NASCAR or golf, you're going to be able to leave the most amount of money, most amount of salary on the table and still have a reasonable chance.
Oh yeah, if two underdogs win, then you're gonna have a lot of money left.
You're going
on
to
the
have like
table.
4,000 on the table. And a lot of people won't do that. The casual players will not do that. They'll see that and be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm doing something wrong.
I've
So-
won tournaments with like $11,000.
Right. Exactly. Who do you like in T1 Top Esports this last game? What do you like?
I think that T1 is just a better team overall. I think that you're right though that this will probably decide who wins the group, or at least plays like a best of one against FPX, because I think that you'll probably have FPX going 2-1, 3-0 or 2-1, and then T1 is probably going to go 3-0 or 2-1, and then I think Top Esports
Will be 1-1 heading into this or something like that, playing for that
Yeah.
tie in that 1-game playoff, which we saw a lot during the EU Masters as well.
Yeah, so I do think that's kind of how it's. Those are some of the scenarios that I would be looking at. So if it was like if FPX ends their third game at 2-1, and then T1 is 2-0 and Top Esports is 1-1 or something like that, then there's going to be a lot of implications for this game. I don't know if there's a tiebreaker, because it might just be like some kind of weird differential, like kill score differential, and then they just push them on to the next round. But that's probably what they would do because they want to save time.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
And the top two seeds advance. So I guess there isn't really a huge incentive to do something like that.
Right.
So maybe that would make it like, if it's locked up for the last game, maybe you just see some crazy, like a crazy last game.
Sure. That's
Like,
what
if
I
there's
mean.
no-
There's some value in following how these things go. I mean, trying to predict what the scenario is going to be going into these third set of matches at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, there could just be so many things going on. So I do think if you're putting a substantial amount of money on these DraftKings contests, paying attention to what's going on throughout, no matter how much it fucks up your schedule, is going to be an optimal way to go about things. I think that's everything. Anything else on this? Again, to kind of cliff note it, Damwon Gaming will be the lowest owned team nearly every single round. I would be shocked if they're not. You're hearing my dog have a dream underneath the desk.
I am.
He is literally dreaming. He's asleep and he's just talking away, moving his feet.
That's
So
pretty funny.
that's Barry for you. Give yourself exposure to all different sides. They're 2-game slates. Hope for those hedges. Don't be afraid to game stack and best of ones. Did I forget anything?
Nope,
Again,
I think that's it.
don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Leave your comments below. Appreciate all of that. I think I've blocked all of the trolls. There's like one guy with like 40 different accounts. And the best part is he has a WWE logo in there and then wants to tell me that I'm a nerder. I'm like, good Lord, dude. Like, are you kidding me? Whatever. I mean,
I'm lucky.
I liked wrestling back in the day. Back in 1990, I did. I loved it. I was a Hulkamaniac for sure. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to Mike's channel. We'll have a link down there below. Check us out today at 4 Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, all week on SBR. Doing a live show talking about all the betting lines, etc. for these contests. Appreciate you all very, very much. Cheers, cheers, cheers. May the fantasy
Cheers.
gods be with you all.
Agua.
And we'll see you tomorrow for DFS. We'll see you. There's going to be you're going to hear us talking League of Legends a whole bunch this week. So we appreciate all the support there. Thank you all so much. Goodbye, folks.
Peace.